If we helped her expand her organic mission, it might heal the wounds they had both suffered. Mas then, those glossy condo brochures flashed before his eyes, enticing him with profitability and status. The clash of ideals spiraled into a tumult of doubt and yearning, fear and determination. He breathed unsteadily, muscles tense, mind racing with possibilities and consequences. What would happen if he lost Lily in the process? The memories of laughter and shared dreams felt tantalizingly close, yet painfully distant. He had come back to reclaim more than just the farm. It was about reclaiming a piece of his heart, a heart that had grown desolate amid the bright city lights. The stakes were rising, and with each passing moment, Jake formed a plan to bolster Lily's vision, but the clock was ticking. A rumor reached him, an unexpected shadow darkening the horizon. A powerful local magnate was eyeing the property, threatening everything Lily had painstakingly built. The walls felt as though they were closing in. Could Jake resist the siren call of wealth and ambition once more? As they faced each other, the weight of unspoken words hung heavy in the air. Time was running out, tensions escalating. Would he choose the path of true empowerment and community, or would he walk away, losing not just the farm, but the only woman he'd ever truly loved? Jake stared out over the fields, the sun dipping low in the sky, casting long shadows across the land. The vibrancy Lily had nurtured came alive in the fading light, and yet inside him churned a tempest of conflicting desires. Could he truly step into her world again, or would his presence only disrupt what she had painstakingly built? He made his way back toward the farmhouse, determination surging within him. The journal's revelations reframed his reality. The legacy his father envisioned pressed relentlessly against his heart. He had distanced himself from what mattered most, but returning could represent a turning point both personally and professionally. The bond with Lily remained, a tether to his lost dreams. Yet he questioned if she would welcome him back after abandoning their shared vision for so long. As he entered the kitchen, the scent of fresh bread wafted through the air, a reminder of homely comforts he had taken for granted. Lily was there, her back to him, focused intently on kneading dough. The rhythmic motion was almost a meditation, and he felt a pang of longing for a simpler time when they had shared these quiet moments. "Hey," he said softly, approaching cautiously. She turned, momentarily surprised, but her expression quickly shifted to one of guarded warmth. "Jake." Her voice was steady, but laced with unspoken emotions. "I didn't expect you back so soon. I found something important." He hesitated, weighing how to disclose the journal's weighty implications. "Is this about your job?" Jake Feltem Soborinaio. Atenção na área meteórica. Mantenha o fluxo e a conexão. Conectando com e questioning how to disclose the journal's weighty implications. It made me realize I've strayed far from what we both wanted. "Is this about your job?" His heart thudded as words hanging heavy in the air. "It's been a distraction, one that led me away from what truly matters. But I want to help you, Lily. With the farm, with your vision. There's something beautiful happening here, and I want to be a part of it." Her eyes searched his, a mixture of hope and skepticism swirling within them. "What do you think I need?" she asked, clearly aware of the stakes. "Money? Resources?" "No, not just that," he replied defensively. "I know how to strategize, to grow a business. I could help make this place thrive the way you envisioned, but," he faltered, "I can't do that without us facing this together." "I can't change what you left behind," she said, emotion spilling over. "You chose that life over the farm, Jake, over us. What's changed?" The weight of her question pressed down on him. He had accumulated wealth, admiration, and success, yet it all felt shallow without the connection that anchored him. "Nothing was worth losing you, Lil. I was chasing a phantom of success. But now," he stopped, realizing that perhaps he couldn't simply return and expect forgiveness or acceptance. "I need a commitment," she challenged, eyes narrowing. "You can't just swoop in and save the day." Her honesty stung. "I want to do more than just save," he replied fiercely. "I want to build, with you, together." They stood in a charged silence, the air thick with emotional history. He knew they had to confront that lingering shadow, the powerful local magnate who could jeopardize everything. "I heard about the developer," he finally said, voicing the unspoken fear that hovered between them. "What if we take a stand together?" A glimmer of hope sparked in her expression, as if he had verbalizado a shared desire. "I have a plan already, but I could use your experience. You know this industry better than anyone." The dynamic shifted. The professional and personal began to intertwine. "Let's strategize," he suggested, energized by her response. "We can create something worthy of your father's dream." Before they could plan their next steps, the sound of a car engine interrupted the moment, pulling their attention away. In the distance, a sleek vehicle pulled up, the local magnate's unmistakable insignia shimmering under the setting sun. Jake felt a wave of urgency rush through him. This was it. The time had come to face the very threat they had feared. He turned to Lily, his resolve firmed. "Let's show him what we're made of." As determination coursed through him, Jake couldn't shake the growing suspicion that their confrontation would test not just their resolve to protect the farm, but the deeper truth of their relationship. Would they emerge as partners united in purpose, or would old wounds tear them apart once more? Jake felt the tension in the air thicken as he glanced toward the approaching vehicle. The memory of his past mistakes loomed large in that moment, casting a shadow over his newfound determination. Ia turned his back on this place once, e agora estava no precipício da história repetindo-se. "I can handle this," he murmurou, half to himself, half to Lily, who watched com a mix of pride e asceticismo. Sua fé nele era double-edged sword. Ele tinha que provar que era merecedor, não só da farm que eles dia dremaram juntos, mas também da sua confiança. O sleek car door abriu-se, revelando homem cuja aura radiava autoridade. Lawrence Trent, local magnate e notório developer, estepou alto, seus sapatos polidos cincando na terra como se ele alçasse todo o seu torso. Jake's estômago twistou. Ele havia sempre visto Trent como um antagonista nesta narrativa, um vilão lurcando aos edges de seus dremes. Agora, confrontado pelo Mancistele Gazi, ele ficou exposto. "Jake Matthews, back from your high-flying life," Trent called out, an amused smirk playing on his lips. "I hope you're not planning on wasting your time in a place like this. There's nothing but dirt in a handful of crops." "This dirt is where roots run deep," Jake shot back, surpreendendo-se com a força de sua própria voz. "Something you wouldn't understand, Trent." Trent's eyes narrowed. "Is that so? Tell me then, how do you plan to make your little farm thrive if you've been out of touch for years? Your girlfriend here will need more than charm to save her dream." The barb was intended to dampen Jake's resolve, mas instead ignitou simmering fire within him. "Lily is running this operation with vision and strength. We're not here to convert it into a profitable venture for you." Lily stepped forward, a calm authority about her. "What we have here is worth fighting for, Lawrence, unlike your fleeting interests. This farm has history, e agora é de ter futuro, beyond your reach." The moment suspended in time, e Jake could sense a fraying edges of tension poised to snap. Would he let Lily take the lead in this confrontation? Could he hold back the instinct to proteger? Aí estava a crux de seu interno conflito. Ele ansiava estar ao lado dela, mas o peso de suas escolhas pricava atrás da sua mente. "Do you really think you can take me on?" Trent laughed, seu voz dripando com condescendência. "Vocês dois estão lutando contra tempo e recursos. Eu tenho mais de tudo do que você poderia sonhar." Jake flicou seu olhar a Lily, cuja férrea determinação endureceu seu resolve. "This is just the beginning. You underestimate the power of commitment," ele disse. "We're ready for whatever you throw our way." Trent's smile faded, e o desafio andava no ar como clouds fobosas. "Very well, mas mark my words, I not be so easily swayed. I'll ofertir deal. Tome a moneda, crumble and repense, ou deixe-me entrar. É seu escolha." Da última tum forçou uma onda de ansiedade em Jake. "It's not so justo about reservas, Trent. It's about belief, hard work e commitment. You think dollar signs scare us, they don't." Trent raised an eyebrow, taken aback by the tenacity Jake now exhibited. A decade ago, he would have faltered under such a scrutiny, crumbling under the weight of expectations. But the fear once felt was replaced by a readiness to stand firm, a choice shaped by the past, yet fueled by an emerging sense of agency. As the wind rustled the leaves around them, Jake's resolve solidified. He turned to Lily, his partner in this enterprise, and saw the quiet strength in her eyes. It was infectious. They had poured countless hours into rebuilding, but this moment demanded even more. A deep breath steadied him as he confronted the complexities of leadership. "We need to prove that we're in this for the long haul. Let's redefine what success looks like out here." Trent chuckled, his demeanor flickering with disbelief. "And what will you do when the weight of reality crushes your romantic ideals?" Jake's gaze shifted, narrowing. He was resolute now. "We won't give in. This land deserves better than you, better than tearing it apart for profits. We'll show you it can flourish in ways you can't even imagine." The stakes had risen, and Jake grasped the enormity of the battle ahead. It was no longer about Trent trying to overpower them. It was about Jake reclaiming his narrative amidst the chaos. In this moment of vulnerability, Jake found clarity. He realized that their path would require sacrifices and lessons learned along the way. Perhaps his biggest challenge would not come from Trent, but from within. The confrontation with the remnants of his old life that still echoed doubts in his mind. "This is the foundation of our future," Jake insisted, an intense determination burning in his chest. "We're ready to rise amidst the challenges, to discover the hidden potential of this place. And with that potential, we'll redefine everything." Trent's expression shifted, a flicker of recognition perhaps shadowing his arrogance. The moment seemed to stretch, heavy with possibility. Jake could feel the tension between them, an inflection point hovering precariously on the brink of transformation. As Trent retreated, a mixture of disdain and curiosity in his eyes, Jake sensed an impending storm, one birthed from the uncertainty of their next steps. He turned to Lily, their shared ambition igniting the air around them. They had chosen to stand together against a formidable opponent, but uncertainty loomed just as then. Looming not merely from Trent, but from their own capabilities yet to be fully discovered. Jake gathered his resolve. "We begin tomorrow." But what he didn't know yet was how this fight would challenge everything he believed about himself, and just how far he would have to go to keep it all intact. The journey ahead was shrouded in risks, secrets tangled within the soil, and a truth they had yet to unveil. Jake awoke the next morning, lacing through a soft light filtering through the curtains, illuminando the room that had once felt more like cage than un sanctuary. He pushed aside the remnants of sleep, determination igniting a fire within him. Today would be the first step toward rebuilding not just the farm, but his very identity. Lily was already up, her hair tied back, eyes focused as she laid out plans for crop rotations and finances. She turned when he entered the kitchen, a smile breaking through her concentration. "Ready to tackle the day?" He felt a swell of energy as he nodded, more than ever. They shared breakfast in silence, both aware that the day ahead was pivotal. Each bite fueled their resolve, fortifying their minds and spirits for the decisions that lay ahead. The air crackled with unspoken anticipation, a reflection of their unyielding drive against adversity. They spent the morning walking the fields, sketching a new vision for the land, a vision untainted by the greed Trent represented. As they talked through plans, an awareness wrapped around Jake's heart. He realized that this was not merely about the land or the impending confrontation. It was about reshaping his narrative, reclaiming his sense of self, stripped away by years of doubt. With every turn of the soil, Jake felt as if he was digging deeper into his own psyche, finding pieces of himself long buried. They strategized about crops that could attract more customers, and how they might utilize organic practices to stand out in a market overcrowded by chemical-dependent farms. Each idea, born from those discussions, was a step toward a renewed identity, not just as a farmer, but as a visionary. As they moved toward the worn barn that had seen better days, Jake's gaze fell on the tools hanging on the wall, remnants of past efforts. Each tool reflected years of hard work, but also failures that had made him question his worth. "We should also take inventory of what we have," Jake suggested, "and find ways to make better use of our resources." Lily nodded, understanding the deeper implications of his words. Resourcefulness was not merely about materials, it was about tapping into their experiences, learning from mistakes, and using failures as tools for growth. "And let's focus on building connections with the community too. They need to know we're here to stay," she added, her voice laced with optimism. This was not merely about financial survival, it was about re-engaging with their purpose, revitalizing their pride in their work. The emotional and professional aspects intertwined seamlessly now, defining a path forward that had previously eluded Jake. As they catalogued what they had, Jake felt stronger at each realization of the capabilities they possessed. But doubt lurked still, taunting him from the shadows of his mind. What if they failed to turn things around? What if Trent seized on any misstep? It was one thing to plan, quite another to execute. His fingers tightened around a rusted wrench as he wrestled con un familiar voice the self-doubt he had often held him back. "Jake?" The concern in Lily's voice pulled him from his thoughts. He met her gaze, admiring her unwavering belief. "Just thinking," he admitted, uncertain if he was ready to vocalize the fears that threatened to overwhelm him. "It's okay. We'll face whatever comes, together, just as we've always done." Her words struck a chord within him, grounding the storm in his mind. It was but one moment of truth in a chain of revelations, each linking him more closely to whoever he was meant to become. The very act of allowing himself to embrace vulnerability was a step forward, a testament to his growth. As they wrapped up their inventory, a sound from outside caught their attention, a delivery truck pulling up. Who could it be? Jake's pulse quickened at the thought of surprise inquiries, potential new partnerships, or perhaps unsettling news. "Shall we?" Jake asked, moving toward the door, resolve masking apprehension. With each hesitant step, he felt the weight of his past bearing down, yet transformed into a catalyst for action. He was determined to redefine his narrative, no matter what confrontation lay ahead. The moment of truth beckoned as the truck's rear doors swung open, but what awaited them could either be the validation of their efforts or the first obstacle in their path. As Jake's breath hitched, unfurling anxiety and excitement in equal measure, he realized that not everything could be controlled. That realization was both terrifying and liberating, a reflection of his newfound understanding of life's uncertainties. It was time to face whatever was coming. As they reached the front door, the sunlight glinted off the truck's polished surface, momentarily blinding Jake. He paused, his heart racing, a frisson of anticipation roiling in his stomach. He had come to acknowledge that this moment held the potential to sway the delicate balance of their efforts. He forced himself to take one steadying breath. Lily squeezed his shoulder, grounding him. "You've got this," she whispered, her voice firm yet reassuring. It was a reminder of the partnership they had forged in these tumultuous times. They stepped outside, the farm's familiar scents mingling with diesel fumes. A figure emerged from the shadows of the truck, a tall man with a well-tailored suit and an air of confidence that seeped into the breeze. "Jake, it's been a while," he called, his voice loud enough to cut through the morning calm. Recognition hit Jake like a bolt. Marcus, his former classmate, the one who had taken the business world by storm while Jake had been mired in the quagmire of his struggles. Memories rushed back, intertwining with feelings of inadequacy. The last time they had met, Jake was the hopeful idealist, while Marcus had been the embodiment of ambition. Now the tables had shifted.
"Hey, Marcus," Jake managed, an uneasy smile plastering itself on his face. Part of him blamed the unease on those memories, while another part resented the instant comparison painted on his mind. "I heard you were back in town. Quite the venture you've got here," Marcus said, glancing over the fields before settling his gaze on Jake. "You've got ambition written all over you." Ambition. The word buzzed in Jake's mind, a complex cocktail of admiration and self-doubt. "Trying to make it work," he replied, unsure of how much to reveal about his true aspirations. "Mind if I take a look around? I could gather some ideas for a feature about innovative farming. People love stories about determination," Marcus suggested, his grin sharp and discerning. Something stirred within Jake. Was this an opportunity to showcase their vision? Or was it merely another chance for Marcus to validate his perceived superiority? Forced hospitality collided with a protective instinct. "Sure, let's show you what we're working on," Jake replied, striving to keep his tone even. As they walked through the fields, Marcus made small talk, yet every compliment felt meticulously calculated, a way to assert his own success while nudging Jake into uncomfortable reflection. They reached the barn, where they had stacked their resource inventory, rows of tools and plans neatly arranged. "This is impressive," Marcus said, examining the organized chaos. "Do you think you can really pull it off?" Jake paused, the challenge implicit in Marcus's voice weighing heavily. It wasn't just about what others thought. No, this was about confronting his own fears. In that moment, he resolved not to shy away from his own potential. "Yes, we can. It's about sustainability and building relationships within the community." Marcus raised an eyebrow, evidently intrigued yet skeptical. "It's admirable, but risky. Sometimes you have to put profits first." A nerve ignited within Jake. That might work for some, but that's not what this farm and my life are about. For the first time, he locked eyes with Marcus, determination flooding through him. His vision was not just about cultivating crops, but nurturing integrity, a fundamental shift from past failings. Suddenly, in the exchange of words, Jake felt a weight lift. He was no longer merely an observer of his life, but an active participant. Marcus might have material success, but Jake had something deeper, a purpose rooted in authenticity that flourished within him. As they concluded the tour, Marcus's expression held an unexpected hint of admiration. "You have changed, Jake. I might have underestimated you." The acknowledgment ignited a flicker of hope within Jake. He was evolving around Marcus's presence, but also beyond it. It meant stepping into a light he had long avoided. As the conversation shifted toward logistics, Jake felt the undercurrents of doubt begin to recede. Just then, they heard a commotion from the back of the truck. The driver had begun to tear up something large, topped with tarps. It felt heavy with uncertainty, yet pulsed with the promise the awakening hidden potential. "What is that?" Lily asked, glancing toward the chaotic flurry of movement. Marcus looked momentarily rattled as he turned to Jake, as if something profound was about to be revealed. Jake's heart dropped. Whatever this delivery was, it had the power to veer the dynamic of their plans into uncharted territory. "Let's find out," Jake said, chasing after the sudden rush of adrenaline coursing through him. Whatever the contents of that truck, it bore the weight of possibility, and Jake was ready to confront it head-on. Jake pushed through the throng of activity around the truck, his heart pounding with an unsettling mix of anticipation and dread. The driver had moved the tarps aside, revealing stacks of crates brimming with vibrant, unfamiliar produce. Each box was adorned with the kind of labels that suggested high-end markets and gourmet retailers, an audacious statement that made Jake's breath catch in his throat. "You're cultivating something new?" Marcus asked, stepping forward, his initial skepticism morphing into intrigue. Jake felt the weight of that question like a blade, questioning both the visible success and the unseen efforts required to make it happen. "Kind of," Jake replied cautiously, refusing to sound too defensive. The last thing he wanted was to stumble over his words in front of Marcus, yet he felt his instincts for transparency surfacing. "These are partnerships we've been experimenting with. The goal is to present unique products to consumers who care about sustainability." Lily stepped beside him, her eyes bright with excitement. "It's a node of our vision, connecting local farmers to niche markets." "Quite ambitious," Marcus acknowledged, but beneath his admiration lingered a sarcastic edge. Jake could sense that Marcus was desperate to find loopholes in their plans, searching for cracks in their ambition. The arrival of the crates ignited a storm of emotion within Jake, excitement tinged with a gnawing fear of failure. He felt ambition coursing through him, yet self-doubt stalked like a ghost. Was he truly ready for the leap forward? "Are you taking into account the risks?" Marcus probed, his tone shifting back to that familiar, condescending register. It's easy to get swept away in enthusiasm and forget about sustainable growth. Jake clenched his jaw, the nerve Marcus had struck sending a spark through him. It wasn't just criticism, it was a reminder of the endless challenges he would face. He had already walked this path and thought he had learned to navigate its treacherous limits. "I'm aware of the challenges," Marcus countered, taking a calculated step closer. "But every venture has its risks. Isn't that what you thrive on? Innovation often comes on the heels of facing uncertainties." As soon as the words were out, Jake sensed a shift. The balance of power wavered. Marcus's brow furrowed slightly,
It was a reflection not just of disdain, but of understanding a deeper part of Jake that had emerged. Perhaps he had misjudged the breadth of Jake's evolution. "Touché," Marcos replied, allowing an approving nod, albeit reluctantly. "But it's different when you've got investors breathing down your neck, expecting returns." The jab stung, but Jake held firm. This was more than just a chance for success. It was a reconstruction of his very identity. He was not just fighting for the farm. He was asserting his belief in integrity and connection, and that, in itself, was his greatest battle. Behind them, the crew continued to unload crates, their hands darting with purpose, while psychologists of ambition wrestled their thoughts. "You know," Marcos began slowly, his tone shifting significantly, "when I first heard of your endeavor, I genuinely thought it would crumble like so many other idealistic projects." The hint of respect in his voice surprised Jake. "That's the thing," Jake said, flicking his gaze back to Marcos. "You measure success in terms of profits, while I'm building something that adds value to lives, not just monetary ones." The words resonated in the space between them. It was a truth Jake had only begrudgingly accepted himself, yet in articulating it now, he felt a renewed confidence crystallizing within. As the last of the crates tumbled down, the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the landscape. "What's next for you?" Marcos asked, tilting his head. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the last remnants of doubt start to dissolve. "We're setting up tastings at local markets next weekend. We'll introduce this stuff directly to the customers." Handing the reins back to the people? A hint of admiration crept onto Marcos's face, pushing Jake to add, "and maybe inviting them to comment?" "Exactly," Jake affirmed, a sense of purpose flooding through him. Just then, a loud crash drew their attention back to the truck, and Jake's gut twisted instinctively. One of the workers had dropped a crate, sending vibrant produce rolling down the gravel, a kaleidoscope of color scattered like unclaimed dreams. "Looks like you need to fold the risks into efficiency," Marcos quipped again, though this time it felt less like a jab and more of a challenge, intertwining with Jake's own insecurities. Jake's jaw tightened, but beneath that pressure, resolve blossomed. "It's a work in progress, just like me." As they surveyed the scene, Jake felt the enormity of the moment crystallize again. Every bit of unexpected chaos brought with it a lesson. This was just the beginning. He turned to Lily, her screen of frustration now replaced by determination mirrored in his own gaze. "This is just a bump in the road," he said, confidence threading through him, "and we'll turn it into an opportunity."
System. What loomed ahead felt both thrilling and daunting, a spectrum de posibilidades waiting to unfold. "Are you ready for the market, Jake?" Lily asked, eyes ablaze with unshakable belief. His heart surged with assurance for the first time in years. "Yes, and I think it's time we invite Marcus to join us this time." Marcus smiled, albeit subtly,
perhaps acknowledging that the balance hadn't just tipped, it had fundamentally altered. But as Jake continued to absorb the newfound alignment within himself, an unsettling question loomed. What if this market was not just a test of success, but an unexpected flashpoint that would alter everything he believed about his journey? "Let's go," Jake said, a current of urgency building within him. Together, they began to strategize their next move, unaware of the storm that waited just beyond the horizon, ready to test everything they had built. Jake's heart raced as he and Lily formulated their strategy. The anticipation for the upcoming market had transformed into a palpable energy coursing through their conversation. He could almost taste the fresh produce they had painstakingly curated, each piece a testament to their hard work and resilience. Yet beneath the surface lay an unsettling tension as he recognized the stakes were higher than ever before. "Jake, we need to nail this," Lily insisted, her voice steady but urgent. "This isn't just about showcasing the products. We have to convey our message, that our partnerships matter, and that sustainability is more than a buzzword." "Right," Jake replied, rubbing the back of his neck as he looked out over the fields, a patchwork of green and gold illuminated by the setting sun. He was torn between excitement and the gnawing fear of failure that had accompanied him throughout this journey. Could they really make an impact, or was he just chasing something unattainable? He had faced relentless skepticism before, primarily from Marcus, whose criticism felt like an unwanted shadow hovering over him. As he prepared for the market, the thought lingered. What if this time Marcus was right? What if the risks outweighed the potential rewards? Internal doubts clawed at Jake, but he pushed them aside. "We'll initiate discussions with customers," he declared, his voice gaining momentum. "We'll create an interactive experience, something that goes beyond mere tasting." The idea of engaging the community felt invigorating, almost like a spark igniting a long-dormant fire. "You're thinking outside the box," Lily said, her eyes lighting up. "We can create an atmosphere, a story. This isn't just about transactions. It's about building relationships. We need to show them why investing in sustainable produce matters." "Right," Jake replied, rubbing the back of his neck as he looked out over the fields, a patchwork of green and gold illuminated by the setting sun. He was torn between excitement and the gnawing fear of failure that had accompanied him throughout this journey. Could they really make an impact? Or was he just chasing something unattainable? He had faced relentless skepticism before, primarily from Marcus, whose criticism felt like an unwanted shadow hovering over him. As he prepared for the market, the thought lingered. What if this time Marcus was right? What if the risks outweighed the potential rewards? Internal doubts clawed at Jake, but he pushed them aside. "We'll initiate discussions with customers," he declared, his voice gaining momentum. "We'll create an interactive experience, something that goes beyond mere tasting." The idea of engaging the community felt invigorating, almost like a spark igniting a long-dormant fire. "You're thinking outside the box," Lily said, her eyes lighting up. "We can create an atmosphere, a story. This isn't just about transactions. It's about building relationships. We need to show them why investing in sustainable produce matters."
Jake felt a sense of relief wash over him. With Lily by his side, their visions aligned like a well-crafted puzzle. Each plan they articulated began to solidify into something tangible, yet the underlying current of anxiety remained.
Would they truly conectar con people? As the days crept toward the market, Jake found himself grappling con familiar insecurities. The fear, the judgment from Marcus loomed like an ever-present weight. He could almost hear his voice in the back of his mind, questioning not just his professional decisions, but the personal growth that Jake fought so hard to achieve. "What's wrong?" Lily asked one evening as they reviewed their presentation layout. He hesitated. What if we fall flat? What if all our efforts are in vain?" The words escaped before he could cage them, revealing a fragility he had worked to mask. "You know what they say about risk, right?" Lily offered, leaning in as her sincerity pierced through his worries. "It's essential for growth. You've put in the work, Jake. You've evolved. Trust that." Jake nodded, but felt a flicker of doubt. Could he trust himself? The experiences of the past resurfaced, tales of failed ventures and compromised ideals. "Let's do a trial run," Jake suggested suddenly, feeling a surge of determination. "We can invite a few locals to taste before the actual event, testing our pitch and getting initial feedback. We can tweak our approach based on what works." "Great idea!" Lily exclaimed, her enthusiasm a lifeline to Jake's wavering resolve. They meticulously organized the trial, hand-picking neighbors to engage in their vision. As the day approached, anticipation crackled in the air. Yet, for every optimistic thought, he faced a barrage of what-ifs echoing in the back of his mind. What if they dismantled the progress he had made? When the trial came, a mix of joy and anxiety overwhelmed him. Locals gathered around, and their genuine interest mesmerized him. With each conversation, Jake's fears began to dissipate as affirmation embraced him. Their passion mirrored his own, igniting unexpected sparks of connection. But as the sun set that evening, stuck in crates filled with fresh produce, Marcus's critical voice returned to haunt Jake. What had they really learned? "Remember the risks you're taking," Jake whispered to himself, clutching the edges of a crate tightly. "What if this isn't just an experiment, but a revelation?" The storm was still out there, looming on the horizon. Jake felt a shift in their venture, one that promised transformation, but also impending confrontation. Standing at the threshold of this change, he asked himself one last question before sleep took him. What if, stepping further into the unknown, revealed something he never anticipated, both about the farm's future and his own identity? As Jake drifted off, the weight of tomorrow's unveiling began to settle in his chest. It felt heavier than ever before. The dawn broke with a veil of mist hanging above the fields, and Jake rose with a restless energy coursing through him. The trial run had breathed life into him, a testament to the connection forged with the community.
Yet, despite the fleeting excitement, uncertainty loomed over his thoughts like the remaining shadows over the crops. As he prepared for the upcoming market, Jake reflected on the feedback gathered from neighbors.
They had embraced the experience wholeheartedly, relaying stories of their own farming roots and concerns about sustainability. Their validation felt like an anchor against the tide of self-doubt Marcus stirred within him. But what would the broader audience think? Would the validation of a few translate into broader acceptance? Jake, we need to ensure our presentation tells the story everyone's ready to hear, Lily pointed out, her expression focused. They were standing amidst the rows of carefully arranged produce. Let's emphasize the local benefits, like health and supporting local economies. Right, Jake nodded, an idea forming. But we can't lose sight of the bigger picture either. Sustainability is also about our children and their future. How can we weave that thread without sounding preachy? Lily smiled softly. It's about passion. If we speak from the heart, people will feel that authenticity. They'll want to invest in our vision. He admired her ability to sift through the noise of his insecurities, helping him channel both his fears and aspirations. Perhaps he hadn't only been grappling with product placement, but rather the significance of his own voice in this new chapter of his life. Could he convey his beliefs with the same conviction he felt when discussing the intricacies of farming with her? Let's write it down, visualize it, Jake suggested, his mind racing through the possibilities. They gathered notebooks and brainstormed, each idea building upon the last. The act of writing made the abstract feel concrete, illuminating areas that needed clarity. But as they delved deeper into crafting their message, a sudden pang of doubt shot through him. Was he ready to be this optimistic ambassador for sustainable agriculture? What if they reached the market only to face skepticism again? The memory of Marcus's scorn nearly derailed him. Lily, what if we come off as naive? His voice had dropped, as if speaking the concern aloud could summon it into reality. Lily turned to him, her biological response an unwavering gaze. That's the risk we take. But challenge breeds change. You can't be afraid of their skepticism. You have to own your journey, Jake. The conviction in her tone kindled something inside him. He realized that part of his dilemma stemmed from the image he had constructed. Someone embodying the ideals he preached, yet still tethered by fear of disapproval. They continued fine-tuning their presentation, blending personal narratives with professional insights, until their words danced across the page like the morning sunlight filtering through the mist.
It felt good to outline their vision con clarity, each word punctuated by the strength of their shared purpose. But the night before the market, with nerves gnawing at his stomach, Jake found himself standing quietly in the fields, staring out into the darkness. The winds rustled through the crops, lending a melancholic soundtrack to his introspection. Questions loomed in the corridors of his mind. Was he truly prepared to stand before others, vulnerable yet confident, offering a vision rooted in his core beliefs? He closed his eyes, focusing on the sounds of the night, hearing echoes of his life, the summer spent with his father, the quiet satisfaction of planting seeds, and the joy of seeing them bloom. What if the seeds they were planting now could flourish too? With a deep breath, he made a silent vow to not only voice his ambitions, but to embody them, accepting whatever outcomes awaited him.
This was a renewal he had sought, a simple yet profound embrace of who he was becoming. Prepared to seize the day ahead, he turned back toward the farmhouse, the weight slightly lifted from his chest. Just as he set foot inside, a shadow flickered across the doorway, and Jake froze. The past seemed to shudder to life. What if the storm wasn't only external, he thought, recognizing that something unexpected was waiting for him inside. As he stepped forward, the door creaked open slightly, revealing a figure he hadn't seen in years. His heart thudded in his chest. Tomorrow's revelations were now entwined with the ghosts of his past. Jake's heart raced as he stepped inside, the warmth of the house contrasting sharply with the chill of sudden uncertainty. There, silhouetted against the kitchen light, stood a figure from his past, his estranged mother, Anna. Her presence amplified the heaviness of the moment as memories flooded through him. Misunderstandings, unresolved issues, the chasm that had widened over the years. The past he'd been striving to put behind him was now standing in front of him. Jake. Her voice trembled slightly, uncertainty etched across her features. She seemed different, weathered yet wise, burdened with years of guilt and regret. I heard about the farm. I wanted to see for myself. He opened his mouth to respond, but the words failed him. In that moment, all the struggle, fight, and transformation he had endured felt overshadowed by the unresolved emotions stirring within him. Why now? He managed to ask, trying to suppress the bitterness threatening to creep into his voice. I've thought about this for too long, she replied, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I should have been there for you. I let my fears get the best of me. I was afraid you'd see me as a failure. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had spent years believing he was a failure too, tethered to the vision of corporate success that had left him hollow. Is that why you stayed away?
Jake asked, hurt piercing through the protective walls he had built. You thought success wouldn't be possible unless you were perfect? Anna's eyes fell to the floor, as if the weight of her choices was too much to bear. I was selfish. I was trying to protect myself from my failures, and in the process, I lost the chance to watch you grow. He felt a rush of emotions. The past felt fresh, the wounds raw. He had fought hard to reclaim his identity, grappling with the shame of leaving the family farm behind. Yet here she was, a living reminder of that choice and the distance it had created between them. This is a turning point for me too, he said, his voice steadying. I'm working to forge connections, to build something we lost. I can't allow another chance to slip through my fingers. Anna looked up, her eyes suddenly full of clarity. I'm sorry, Jake. I didn't follow your dreams. I realized I should have been supporting you on this journey instead of withdrawing. Jake took a deep breath, emotions churning. He had fought against the fear of vulnerability for so long. Now, confronted with the possibility to either shut down or open his heart, he felt a shift. Perhaps this was the transformation he needed, not just for himself, but for his family. I want a relationship with you, he admitted, his voice breaking slightly. But it has to be real, no more pretending. Anna nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. I'm ready if you are.
The burden of unspoken words began to lift as they sat together at the kitchen table, exchanging stories of lost time. Each tale gradually stitched together the frayed edges of their relationship. As they spoke, he felt the deep-rooted resentment give way to understanding and the possibility of healing. Days passed as the market approached, the buzz of anticipation mingling with the reconnection of family ties. Jake now stood on the brink of not just fulfilling his dream for the farm, but also paving the way to restore a lost bond. It was his chance to redefine success once more, not just through the eyes of profit, but through purpose and love. The day of the market arrived like a vibrant dawn. As the stands filled with anticipation, showcasing fresh produce and stories of hope, Jake felt the rising tide of confidence inside him. With Lily beside him, he began each interaction with an honesty that drew people in. The earlier fears melt. Their efforts manifested in conversations that exposed people's underlying desires to connect, to support something greater than themselves. Customers flocked to their stand, eager to share their own stories of family farms, of sustainability, and of dreaming big. Jake was a changed man, fully immersed in every moment, empowered by an understanding that fulfillment stemmed from relationships as much as it did from personal conviction.